Welcome back to Enabling Automation. I'm your host, Ben Hope. Today's episode is a special one. We're joined by someone whose career has shaped the direction of automation in Canada and beyond. Recently, Manufacturing Automation magazine honored him with a Lifetime Achievement Award, a recognition reserved for those who have not only contributed to the field, but expanded it, challenged it, and inspired the people working within it. The article, called A Vision for Automation, explores his decade-long influence on manufacturing, digital transformation, and tech leadership. Today we'll go deeper, the person behind the award, the insights that shaped his career, and the lessons he believes will define the next era of innovation. It's an honor to welcome our guest today, Steve Wardell. Hi, Steve. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Very good, Ben. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to having a chat.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's dig in. Let's look at your journey in the award, and we'll start there. When you first learned you were receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award, what went through your mind?
The first thing is I said, wow, hopefully my lifetime's not to the point where I can't look forward still, because a Lifetime Achievement Award's kind of a looking back award, but been around a long time and have had the opportunity to work in a great field. And I think really all I've kind of done is done my job. And so if I'm going to get an award for doing my job, I'm happy to take it.
Talk about the things you've accomplished. And,
yeah.
The article frames your career as a vision for automation. Do you feel that kind of captures your journey?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a neat play on words, because I'm associated with the vision group here at ATS and all things vision for the last 15 years.
The visionaries.
Yeah, the visionaries. The article does a good job at highlighting my career and kind of the steps that I've gone through, and the fact that I didn't need to go to different companies to have multiple different career opportunities. ATS has been a fantastic place for that to happen, and I feel like even though I've been at one company, had many different careers throughout it.
There's lots to do, lots of different things to see and get access to.
Yeah, and ATS is, as you know, grown so much and changed so much over the years that to work with those changes, work alongside them, be a part of them, and go through what the changes bring, it's kept it fresh. And you tell somebody you've been somewhere for 36 years, and they look at you with their eyes wide open and say, "How'd you do that?" Well, ATS has allowed me to do it.
Yeah, your challenge it was exciting. There was never a need to leave.
No, every day it's still a challenge, and the fact that we make new, interesting automation solutions for our customers that are different every time, that challenge never changes or never grows stale, because it's different challenges all the time.
Lots to learn, lots to kind of apply your knowledge and keep you on your toes.
Yeah, and not only that, being given the opportunity to continue to build out that knowledge and take it to the next level. We're not just doing the same thing the same way. It's, hey, if there's a different way of going at something that's going to be more efficient and more capable for our customers, let's do it. Yeah. So it's, the company allowing that to happen too.
Innovative mindset, kind of going into different things. Looking back, what were the critical turning points, moments that changed the direction of your career in the industry?
I guess a lot of that was the same critical turning points that ATS went through, because I kind of lived through them, a lot of them. When I first started here, we were a lot smaller than we are now, and it was started by Klaus originally, and we were about 10 years into the company's founding at that point, but we were still just one building in Kitchener and focusing on automation. But to where we are now, the journey has been multiple and varied. We've gone off in various different tangents, come back to some things, went into this industry, went into that industry, seen multiple different booms and busts with regards to certain type of work that we get into. We lived through the internet bubble. We lived through the solar bubble and the fact that it built up and came down. Same thing most recently with the electric vehicle side of things. So, we've kind of grown and adapted. Every one of those situations that led to saying, okay, well, this is a place that we can't go anymore. What are we going to do now? And we've done a great job at adapting and continuing to grow.
Can't just sit still. You got to keep moving.
Yeah. No, if we said, well, we're going to stick with it, we'd be gone long ago.
Yeah. And that was one of the great things about Klaus Wollner. I think he was always looking for the best path, and he was okay to make a mistake as long as he learned from it and then kind of moved on.
Oh, yeah. I feel kind of honored that I was able to work under his tutelage when I first started here. I learned what entrepreneurism was, from Klaus. When anybody talks about an entrepreneur now, I still think of Klaus as the ultimate example. And just having set the stage with that, that continues to kind of be the basis of the underlying currents within ATS.
It's almost built into the culture of ATS.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, looking at the article, it highlights your views on where automation is headed. If you had to summarize that vision in your own words, what is it today?
I think where it's headed is kind of the same place that it was headed back when I started. I got into automation originally because I thought this is a place that's going to continue to grow. People are going to want to automate things. It's just what we were automating then might be a little bit different than what we're automating now. The automation 30 years ago has become kind of standard for everything, but we're automating the next thing. And we'll continue to automate. I don't ever see a time when people will look at things and say, you know what, I want machines to do less for me than what they do now. They're always going to want that next thing. It's going to be really interesting, what happens in the next 5-10 years. And I think we'll talk about that. But it's just, I didn't see any kind of non-growth path in the automation industry and the computer side of things. I got into computers as well because it was going to be an area that was and will continue to advance, and we take the ride along with that advancement.
Lead the technology. Yeah. People need things, and things are expensive to manufacture. And I think automation is what's enabled us to have access to way more things and open up kind of a lot of opportunities in our lives. But without automation, if we had people still assembling all of those things, as an example, we would never have the same accessibility. I think.
Yeah, for sure. And we can go into discussions about how automation is replacing people from putting things together. But yeah, sure. At the same time, people don't want to be necessarily doing that in the first place. So let's get them into places where they want to be. And
exactly.
And, automation allows the human race just in general to advance and
to be creative. I think a human being needs to be creative to be effective, and doing repetitive tasks for a human being is not the best. The best approach.
No, I've been lucky to be part of the A3, the Association for the Automated Industry, and as being part of that, the one thing that was kind of a tagline, it's automation may replace people, but we're replacing people doing dirty, dark, and dangerous work, and people don't want to do that in the first place. So let's get them into places where they can.
Yeah.
Let the machines do it.
Okay, the article mentions gaps between what's possible and what's implemented. What gaps do you see most clearly?
I think the gaps are still driven by the cost and the willingness to be structured enough to take a risk. So getting into an automation mindset for a manufacturer, there is some risk that has to be taken to make the investment to put the automation into place, but also to trust that automation is going to provide you with benefit that it was originally designed to. It's easy because automation is difficult. It's easy to look at automation and see only the risks associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
But placing yourself above those risks and taking that leap, you have to go through that before you can get to the point where you release that gap that was there in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I still think the cost associated with it is coming down continually, which means that the automation that we can provide, without even really trying, that part is becoming almost like a commodity. And people don't know it, but there's a bunch of automation that's going on that we don't have to work really all that hard to, and the risk is gone. That will continue. We'll continue to build up those capabilities. Those risks will lower, but you're not going to get there unless you take the risk in the first place. So I see that really as the gap between what can be done and what we can offer, where manufacturing's at right now. Those who aren't willing to take that risk because there is risk involved, you got to get over that risk level.
Yeah, it's a necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also an indication that as manufacturers look to automation, they can't look at it also with these silver bullet type of mind frame that's going to give us everything and not realize that there will be some challenges associated with it. If we talk about AI, I think we will a little bit later, that's an area where there's a lot of blue sky type of thinking as to what it can do for you. The actual reality between that and that blue sky is a lot of work and a lot of risk associated with it. So we'll see where it goes, but that's really going to be an interesting hit.
Yeah, I agree. I think people have always, in my experience with automation, stayed away from the idea of a black box, because when the black box stops working, you have no idea how to get it going again. And I think people like to have transparency into what's happening inside the machine. And having AI, for example, just design a machine and program a machine. I think a lot of people would be like, what happens when it goes down?
Exactly, yeah.
What did the article get right about your philosophy? And is there anything you would add or clarify?
The part about my philosophy that I think got right was you have to kind of look at things from what you've experienced, not only the good, but the bad as well. Kind of highlighted the fact that your growth and learning journey is going to be based upon the failures and the setbacks that you've worked through. And that experience is as strong or stronger than any kind of new experience that you get in and it just goes right the first time. You gain a lot more from your failures than you do from your successes.
It's almost disquieting when something works the first time. You're like, oh.
Yeah. And if you can get to a point where everything you're doing the first time is going right, then you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You're not going into a place where you're going to, set yourself up for growth into new areas. I know, I think back to one of my early bosses who kind of set a lot of the stage for me, Steve Bottoms. He used to like to say to us, we're taking that job because we've never done it before. We're likely going to fail, but if we don't do this, we're never going to get anywhere. And we would take these failing jobs, but we would be committed to them with our customer, and we would, work with them initially and say, this is going to be a challenge. We're likely going to fail through this, but this is how it's going to go. We'll get you to it in the end, because we want to learn and we want you to learn.
And we are committed to that. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. And I find in my experience, the greatest kind of moments, you get those successes where you win and they're good in the moment, but it's the failure where you learn something that sticks with you. And when you remember it years later, the success was, but remember that time we learned this or we learned that? Like, that was mind blowing when I learned that. And then it changed everything going forward.
Yes.
But you would never have done that without trying it, without being open to failure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And taking that step in the first place, you can get real risk averse and get comfortable with what you're doing, and that's going to get you along in a certain area for a good long time. But it's not necessarily going to allow you to essentially deal with the challenges that are going to come your way because you have no choice in them. Talking about what we were talking earlier, where a whole industry goes away and then you've got to pivot into something else. Yeah. What are you going to do then?
Yeah. On pivots, let's move on to talking a little bit about technology, data, and AI, which we just touched on. Over your career, how has the role of data changed in manufacturing?
The data has been, I'll say, something that in the beginning of my career, we didn't have a lot to work with. It was a lot more, I'll call it hard, less data driven in what we were doing and just more hard physical in how we were doing things. But all along that point, we were always building on our capability of collecting data, getting more data about what we do and how we do it, using that data to a certain extent, to the point where I feel we've mastered what we can do in the data collection side of things. We're able to get a lot of information, not just about the machines that we build, but how the machines are building and the product that we're building and everything associated with them. What I still think we're in the infancy of is how we take that data and do something constructive with it. We can analyze the hell out of it and find out that, this is what the data looks like. This is giving us some information, but it's applying that information for the good back into the machine or back into the next machine.
How do you act on that?
I still feel like we've got a long way to go to take the power of the data that we're already collecting and really get some gains out of it. So we can look more and more into collecting more and more data. I don't think that's our problem anymore. I think our problem is taking that and really doing something with it that's a benefit that hadn't been planned. A lot of what we're doing with the data now and the analysis that we're getting from that is more or less verifying what we would have done anyway, I think. It's the data driving us into something that we maybe not have done. And we look back and we say, hey, we were going to go down this path, but the data drove us down here. And look, the data was right. Or the way we managed that data. I still think there's a huge potential for taking what we already have and using it more effectively.
Getting a bigger picture of the current status and acting on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So AI is obviously the major theme right now. Where do you see genuine value and where is it still overhyped?
Well, it's still very hyped up because when you open your news feeds in the morning, I bet you it's hard to find in one or two articles into it where you're not seeing AI and that's the hype cycle part of it. That's the next generation stuff. The nice thing about AI is that there is a lot of AI in play that is very functional, very useful, and becoming part of our norm in our tool sets that we're using and the products that we're wearing and bringing to the fore, but we don't refer to it as AI anymore. I think once you stop referring to whatever it is you're building or using, you stop referring to it as AI, that's when it becomes useful because it's been accepted.
It gets more specific too.
Yeah, it's application specific. It's a tool here. I've always believed that AI is just another tool. It's a very powerful tool, but it's a very undefined tool. And it's when you take that, however you've deployed it, whatever applications you put it to, and built it into something that people take and accept without thinking about it as AI, then that's where the power of it is. And we're seeing tons of that everywhere. Hopefully, because I'm kind of tired of it, but hopefully in the next 10 years or so, we're not talking about AI anymore. We're talking about all the stuff that it's doing under the hood, and you're not worried about how it's being done. It's just, hey, this is this cool and capable tool for me that, I can't live without right now. So I think once we stop talking about it as AI and it's deployed in something that isn't AI known for, that's when its real power is really manifested. And so all of the AI companies out there right now that all they're talking about is AI, they're going to become companies that are successful when you don't refer to them as AI companies anymore.
Interesting. It's similar to the idea of Industry 4.0. And like 10 years ago, even 15 years ago, now everyone was talking about Industry 4.0. But it was when it really started getting specific. You want to digitalize this, or you want to improve your digital twin, or you want to do this, you want to do that. When you started seeing the kind of progress, and now almost nobody talks about Industry 4.0 anymore, right?
Yeah. I do think AI is going to have a longer life cycle on that because things are moving so far, and AI doesn't have a defined boundary. It'll always be the next thing that you're working on. So we're going to get to a level of AI that where everybody 10 years ago says that's far past what I thought the AI was. So what are we working on next? Well, that's the next level of AI. So that's what you're going to be referring to as AI, and all the stuff that's the result of it in the rear view mirror is going to be the stuff that humans really grab onto because that's what's come out of it.
Yeah. For companies starting their modernization journey, what's the smartest first step?
The first step is to accept the fact that you don't know it all when it comes to the automation side of things, or looking into your modernization journey, whether it includes automation or whether it includes whatever it is that you're looking at modernizing. There's a lot of smart people out there, and you can get a lot of information in a very quick time about a certain subject. But to consider yourselves experts in every field that's necessary to get to go down your modernization journey, I think that's detrimental.
That's
because
the error.
you get kind of a complacent feeling that I'll take care of it, and you just don't know well enough. As there's somebody else out there that knows more, and there's somebody else out there knowing more, wanting and willing to help you down your journey. Be open to saying, I'm not exactly sure which way I'm going here. Is this the right way? And work with those subject matter experts so that you're asking the right questions, you're taking the right turns, and you're doing it in a manner in which you're taking advantage of somebody who's not just somebody, but companies and whatnot that have put all of their art and effort into becoming experts on. And I like the fact that there's always something new to learn, and there's always somebody out there that's willing to teach you.
Go through it with you. Yeah.
And so take advantage of those people and be humble in what your capabilities are until those capabilities have been built up themselves.
Allows you to evaluate technologies. Because one thing that is frustrating is when someone says things like, we've tried automation, it didn't work for us. And you're like, well, you look like a company that could really benefit from automation. We tried it, didn't work.
Yeah.
It's just because you didn't have the right people looking at how to apply it, and you failed, spent a lot of money, and now you have a bad taste in your mouth, and the whole experience was kind of off-putting, but you're the one that's being left behind because you're not doing things properly. So Interesting. Moving on to people, culture, and change. So you've led organizations through major transitions. What have you learned about change management?
First off, because we're in a kind of high-tech industry, there is always going to be change. When going through change management, it's about expecting the amount of change that's coming. Say you're putting in a new ERP system, or say you're adding automation into a place where you had manual automation or manual operators doing things at first. The steps between one to the other is a change that's going to have to be managed. Set yourself up so that there is a lot of steps, not just one. I've gone from this ERP system to this ERP system. It's going to be anytime any kind of new technology is introduced, even though it's sold as, being
ready to go,
perfect technology. Yeah. This is going to, give you everything since sliced bread. It's not going, you have not only the technology to worry about, but you have the people who use the technology and their adoption of it.
Yeah.
That part of the change is as much associated with that technology as the technology itself. And that change recognition that people go through a journey at different phases. Some are adopters, some are slow to adopt, but you're going to have to deal with all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, you just got to set your expectations that it's not going to be, 100% out of the box ready to go. Even if it is, the people that are using it won't be.
Are still going to struggle, potentially. How can companies bridge tension between OT and IT, or between engineering and operations?
Different companies handle it different ways. I was at a company just earlier this week. We do have a consortium where we share amongst various different companies in the region how each other are helping with their processes, building on continuous improvement, and we go to each other's places to kind of learn from each other and provide feedback. And one of the things just this week I found really interesting at a smaller company that we were visiting was their ties between their supply chain management group and their assembly operations group. And it was very closely tied together from an organization standpoint. And as a result, a lot of their synergies in that respect kind of came into play as being, I think, a little more efficient than what we do here, because our supply chain groups and our operations groups are maybe not as well tied together as they were. Different company, different sizes, lots of different factors that go into it. But in this case, like IT/OT discussion, or even, everybody working as a group towards the same goal, I think that's really where sometimes it falls down, is that the ultimate goal for the individual groups isn't always the same. And if that ultimate goal isn't always the same, they're not necessarily going to jump onto the same bandwagon as they would if they were working towards the same goal. So I think somehow tying the same goal structure for all of the groups involved in the process, in this case, in the IT side of things and the OT side of things, if they're working towards the same goals, they're all going to be driven by the same necessity to try and succeed in that area. And I think that's where a lot of companies, like even ourselves, can improve in how we set our direction and our goals and our mindsets towards where we're going. And in the end, we all want to keep our customers happy and produce for them the best product going when it comes down to the automation that we provide. But on a day-to-day basis, we're not always thinking that or judged along that same way. And so I think the goal alignment is critical for making that happen.
Yeah, somebody said, I was talking to someone the other day, and the analogy they used was a hockey team. And the bigger the organization gets, you lose track of what are we trying to do? We're trying to win the game. But if you're a defenseman, you're just trying to stop the puck from getting in the net. If you're a forward, you're just trying to score a goal. But the defenseman is also contributing to the offense, and so is the forwards contributing to the defense. But if their goal is to win the game, it's different than just stopping the puck from getting in the net or getting the puck into the net.
Exactly.
So I love that, yeah.
And all those guys on that hockey team, they're only happy when they win, when they win the game.
Yeah.
They're not happy because they had a nice play and, I stopped that guy coming down on his breakaway. They're happy when they win the game. They're sad when they lose the game.
Yeah.
They celebrate as a team.
Yeah.
That's critical component of it,
because
that's the high level goal that they're all working towards.
Yeah.
Yeah, good analogy.
And what advice do you have for young engineers and leaders entering the field today?
Back to our theme, kind of from the discussion today, you got to embrace failure. as a stepping stone working towards success. You're never going to get it right 100% of the time. And when you get it wrong, you're going to say, okay, that was either really painful or, geez, that didn't go well. I got something to learn here and I can do better next time. So it's setting the expectation that much like as you're trying to implement something new, it's not always going to go just as you planned it, hunky-dory every time. There's going to be some bumps along the way. But if you go into this saying, okay, we're going to have bumps along the way, and you've got support that says, okay, yeah, you've hit that bump, let's go, we're on to the next one. In a supportive environment like that and an expectation that this is how it's going to go, that's going to help those folks advance and get to that success level that they want in a manner in which they're happier with what they're doing.
They're happy. And to after 36 years, still feel that kind of excitement and that drive, I think is massive.
Yeah, I'm glad we have the floor down here, because all I got to do is I got to walk down to the floor and see those machines. When I can hear it, through the office wall, oh, there's something out there running, I'll go for a walk, and
that's exciting.
And yeah, I still get excited by that.
Yeah. Okay. And then kind of looking ahead, what developments in automation over the next 5 to 10 years excite you the most?
Well, this gets into the AI side of things. I think it's still a huge unknown as to where it's going to take us. We're seeing the trickle down effect of the AI work that's being done by these companies out there and educational facilities, and there's a lot of people doing research into areas that trickle down into algorithms and tools that we can use and take and apply to our everyday work. I think the exciting part about the AI side of things is we really don't know where it's going to lead us. If we were if I was just to look at it from say, autonomous cars perspective, and we could say, okay, yeah, we're really excited about autonomous cars and where we can go with that. It's easy to see or to predict a little bit where that could take you. It could go off into some places that you're maybe not expecting. In general, it's such a vague term, it's such a vague field that it can go a million different directions. And it's those million different directions, the fallout of those directions and what they offer up to us from, again, the tools that you're not referring to as AI anymore, what those come out of it, those are the parts that I'm really interested in seeing. 5 years from now, how much is what I'm doing now going to be different based on some of that fallout of the work that's being done today?
Especially that repetitive work, because I think everybody wants to get into that deep work state where they're just completely engaged. And then when you have to do repetitive work, like name a bunch of tags or something like that, you kind of go through the motions. But
yeah, things
like that can be automated would be fantastic. Yeah.
What I'm really excited about is the stuff that I wouldn't have even dreamed of today. Like I think about, okay, what could come out of it? And if 2 years from now, I'm looking at saying, geez, I never would have thought of that. Wow. That's the stuff I'm excited about, because I think this is the kind of the time in history where we're going to see these novel things pop out of this that very few people saw coming. Yeah.
That's very cool. Are there any risks or blind spots in the industry that needs to be addressed?
Well, I think it actually kind of ties back into what we were just talking about. There is risks associated with that. There could be these novel new things that come out of it that we also say, oh, geez, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
You could be excited about it, but you can also be a little bit worried about it. I'm less worried about the doomsday scenario and, AI taking over and those kinds of things, because I still have faith in humanity to keep kind of check on those things. But there will be things that potentially come out of it that are put to not the best purposes in the world by darker actors out there. And unfortunately, that's going to lead to some challenges and some risks. Those are some of the things that I think, because of the unknown or the novelty of it, is going to be of interest over the next number of years.
Is there a technology or idea that's underrated right now?
Well, old guys like myself, I've been around for a while, seen a lot of things. I find that there's an underrated called gut instinct. That I still think the human brain and the human form has this ability of taking in what you learn over 36 years, what you've gone through, and decipher that into something that gives you not just a theory about what to do, but also a feeling about it in the background. And I call that obviously the gut instinct effect. And I still put a lot of trust into when I'm working with folks. If I know somebody's been around for a long time, they've seen a lot of things and they've worked through a lot of different challenges, when they come to me and they say, you know what, my gut's telling me this, I'm going to put a lot of trust in that. It's going to be data driven. It's going to have to the data's going to have to powerfully overdrive that gut instinct. Yeah. Now, it can go the other way too. Obviously, you have to take everything by its own level of assumption. But I think we sometimes minimize the experience that people have, and you just put it all into the next new tech. Well, this is the next new thing. It's gonna give you everything you want, and that's the next algorithm, and that algorithm is great. But if it doesn't take into account necessarily the things that could have also played into play, and not having had the experience with it, I think we're missing some of that. So I like a good mix of gut instinct with really well-defined data analysis, and that mix coming together. If they both say the same thing, then
it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. Yeah. That's not a really high-tech type of thing, but it is just one thing that I think is kind of in line with talking to an old guy too.
I love that, because I think people, the whole purpose we do anything is for people at the end of the day, right? And so taking people into consideration, people are the driving force. People have seen this. People have been doing this a long time. Listen to people. You can make less mistakes and get to where you want to get to faster by listening. Is there any other kind of thoughts or anything you want to kind of leave with us?
It's been, great to be part of ATS. And I'm like, I look back and when I first graduated, I had a couple different job offers, and I could have went this way for more money, bigger company, but the work just didn't look like the work that I wanted to do. Didn't look like the place that I would be excited about when I went into work every day. And I'm so glad I made the decision that I did, because, I've never had any regrets about coming to ATS or staying here for this long.
That's great.
Maybe get a few more in, but retirement's on the horizon as well. Yeah.
Don't have another 36 years, no?
No, I'll cut it back at some point. Yeah. Yeah.
Steve, it has been an honor having you here. Your Lifetime Achievement Award is not only a recognition of past achievements, it reinforces the lasting impact of your leadership and your vision. The manufacturing automation feature provided a powerful overview, but today you brought the story to life with depth, clarity, and sincerity. So thank you for sharing your journey with us. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. If you haven't read the manufacturing automation article on Steve Wardell, it is essential context to this conversation and well worth your time. This has been Enabling Automation. I'm Ben Hope. Until next time.